Good evening, everyone. Welcome to your latest Wolves Fancast mental health seminar. We're live. We're on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be one of those shows, isn't it? We're going to be predominantly talking about the Arsenal Wolves game this time yesterday, but myself and a couple of others were slightly a bit hungover to properly invest in yesterday's show. But within the last hour, a Percy bomb, which none of us were in favour of this evening. John Percy via the Telegraph revealed that Wolves have apparently stipulated that for the remainder of the transfer window, they will be spending around £20 million, despite banking £90 million plus Pedro Neto and Max Kilman sales. Centre back appears to still be the priority, with Dara O'Shea being one of the targets that Gary O'Neill has lined up. Wolves have also recently missed out on the Lyon defender Jake O'Brien, who has joined Everton. We've been linked to Nico Elvedi, Thomas Beelan, David Carmo, Kevin Danso, among many others. But I've got with me Stu and Gav on tonight's show. And that reveal from John Percy around 4 p.m, Stu, was not the news that we wanted on this Monday evening. Your thoughts so far?
I know you tee me up to have a rant, but what do people expect? These people are criminals. They're shy. I did the thing last year when I taped stuff to my face about the bollards. They listened to me then. But clearly, the stadium was in an absolute state and it looked like a shithole from the outside. So if you're looking for investment and that's your first port of call, you're going to need to top that up. That's been done. But this, I mean, I know that people who've got a clean heart and believe everything, Andy, that, yeah, fine. We all know the situation we're in and whatever. But they said sustainability, which is great, fine. Sustainability also means that the club spends what it raises. And when you raise money, you expect to keep it. What else are they doing with it other than pocketing it? Which is what they're doing, which is what I said about what the Glazers have done at Man United, what Mike Ashley did at Newcastle. It's exactly the same. And it's no surprise. I mean, my first reaction when I was doing a bit of ironing, I was all zen and chill for tonight. I thought, oh, positive performance at Arsenal. Great. Actually enjoyed myself for a change. 7 points. Sensible night. Afterwards when I got back. And then this comes out and I burst out laughing. I was owning my own T-shirt as well. Didn't burn it. I burst out laughing because this is what happens every single year. And it's happened every year. Well, twice a year, every year for the last 4 years. And we all know it's coming. We were lured into a full sense of security this time because they signed players early. But obviously, that's because they knew Kilman was off. Neto's been sold now. So what's different there? Well, why is that different? Though? Oh, we can't spend all of that money. Now we can only spend a little bit. You've got to be good little boys to get the whole amount. It's just a fucking joke over and over again. And what is the expectation anymore? So we've had our bit of cake. Our summer solstice is here and gone. And now it's all back to fucking normal again. And here we are, moaning about the same stuff over and over again every 6 months. And nothing changes.
Yeah, August the 3rd, 2023, in an article via the Wolves official website, Jeff Shee was quoted, "The positive thing is that FFP is based on a rolling number season by season. So if we do manage well this summer, next summer we will be more free financially." Gav, you obviously read the Daily Telegraph article that I just showed on the screen there. Yeah. Obviously, you revealed off air that you were usually pro Fosun, but your goalposts have slightly moved after today's news.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, we all got told last season what you just mentioned. Last season was the sacrificial lamb, where we had to take the hit, bring these, sell. What did we sell Neves last year? Sold some of our key players to gear up for a good summer where we could actually prepare properly. And like Stu said, we signed a couple of players at the start, but when you look into it, they already knew Kilman was going. So they already, for once, have actually planned ahead. But they kept on talking about buying to sell, which is fair enough. But we've sold, but now we're not buying. So it doesn't make any sense now. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel sorry for Gary O'Neill, because he was hoping he could build on something there at least. You know what I mean? With off the back of last season. Now I just feel like we've just gone backwards. We've just gone 2 steps backwards now, really.
I've quoted Jeff Shear's Jeff Moxie a few times, and I
love that every time.
It is massively frustrating. It seems to be sort of another repeat episode of how Julian Lopetegui was promised X, Y, and Z, and the goalposts were moved on him. Wolves have managed to convince Gary O'Neill to sign a contract extension. Have Wolves moved the goalpost after he's signed on that piece of paper? It's if Gary O'Neill has signed up, been given assurances, and they've moved the goalposts, he'd be well within his right to walk for me at a principle. Yep. Principle means absolutely nothing in football nowadays anyway, because it's all about money. Danny Rosamund, who obviously has been on the Fancast before, made a comment to me earlier on, which was along the lines of football's basically gone to the shitter now. We live in a world where finishing 4th is deemed a more successful season than winning a cup due to the monetary implications. That's pretty much where we are as a club now, Phil. Fosun, they either need to sell up or they need to sort of invest back in the club. Obviously, they've taken money out, they've made money of us, they've grown their portfolio, the brand and all that, boo hockey. But we're on the pathway to being another Crystal Palace for me in regards to making up the numbers in this Premier League with owners that don't want to invest, don't want to achieve. It's basically just banking that TV money every single summer and seeing where they go from there. It's massively frustrating. You mentioned the sales that we made last summer compared to what we've done this summer. Let me go through some of the names that were mentioned. Got that left Wolves last summer. Matheus Nunes, €62 million. Ruben Neves, €55 million. Nathan Collins, €27 million. Connor Cody, €8.7 million. Raul Jimenez, €6.4 million. Ryan Giles, €6 million. Daniel Podence went to Olympiacos for a loan fee of $1.5 million. Hayo Kawabe went to Standard Liège for $1.5 million. Matthias Arkic went for $1.5 million to Millwall. It's a massive fee that was brought in last summer, just under €170 million. Go back to this summer of the players that have left. It's massive. Pedro Neto, €60 million. Max Kilman, €47.5 million.
Sounds even worse when you put them all out, doesn't it? I mean,
I'm putting them all out, and then you look at the players that we've brought in this summer. Rodrigo Gomez, 15 million. Pedro Lima, €10 million. These are. Tommy Doyle was made permanent this summer. That was €5 million. We've had to pay €3 million. €3 million. I keep saying euro. I should have been saying sterling all this time. €3 million loan fee for Jurgen Strand-Larsen. With the sort of option obligation next summer. A lot of money's been brought in by Wolves. We've not spent a great deal. Last summer, in order to stay up under Julian Lopetegui, we did spend a lot of money in that January transfer window. Mateus Cunha, €50 million. Jean-Ric Bellegarde was signed, €15 million. Santiago Bueno, €12 million. Boubacar Traore, €11 million. Enzo Gonzalez came in for €6 million. And then we made 3 transfers of Matt Doherty and Tom King. The list of players that I've just mentioned and the players that we've brought in, you can see why a lot of people are in uproar today after the back of the rising of the season tickets.
Yeah.
I've said to you guys off air, the fact that Wolves have actually been quoted as £20 million that's available for the rest of the window. Something just doesn't add up here, does it, Stu? But with these owners, you don't put it past negligence or incompetence with putting things out in the media. We haven't really got much of a sway with Jorge Mendes nowadays for bringing in star players from the continent, in my eyes. So without sort of just going head the ball and, steam coming out of your ears, where does this fan base go with this ownership, Stu? Because we've got Chelsea on Sunday. There's going to be people who still want to be positive going into the season. There's still a lot of fans that don't want to bring outside negativity to Molineux on a match day. But it can only go one way with this ownership at the moment.
And I'll tell you what will happen. Fuck all. Because that's what's happened every year for the last 4 years. Nothing has happened. And there was some brilliant comments on Twitter. I'm sorry I didn't write who said them down. And there was some that was shared in our group chat as well about if they can spend 20 million and stay up, that's better than spending 70 million and staying up. That was nailed on because they'll do the bare minimum. And as long as we stay in the Premier League, we remember you go back 10 years and we were all, if we can ever be a Stoke and just a mid-table Premier League side, we'd take that forever. We all said it. We all said it on here. But now we are, and you realise how boring that is. But the point is there's no need. And then you look at the stuff, from the financial stuff from, we all know why players had to be sold and Neves had to be sacrificed and whatever. But that was sorted out. And then they come out with saying about, did Wolves get dock points? No, because we were 3 million we were 3 million away. So from that point of view, if we were 3 million away last year, we've bought in so many players, so few players and so few money, and sold few players on silly money, then that doesn't work, does it? You're nowhere near the FFP or PSR or any of that bollocks. You're nowhere near it. Anyone with half a brain can see we've been taken for mugs again. And you look at it and you think, okay, why? Because they're greedy and they don't care. That's why. They would love us to be a Palace. If we can stay in the Premier League, they can use Wolves as a Premier League brand and use the badge as they always talk about. And that's all they want. And unless they're spat at outside the ground like what happened to Jack, which I'm not advocating before you start, and Steve Morgan was assaulted at Preston. That's the kind of thing it's going to take. But why? Why would they care? Because they're milking us dry every year. We stay in the Premier League every year. I think what's probably done us is the fact that we did so well in pre-season. They think, oh, okay, we don't need to spend much money now. We'll stay up again. It's probably done us over playing well.
We've just beaten Champions League Red Bull Leipzig.
Yeah, exactly. I think from our detriment for being good. But exactly like last January, what we said, we could have pushed on when we were in the hunt for top 7. What happened? Fuck all. Playing the kids again. And we all know exactly what's going to happen in February. I'll put it out as a bit of a joke about half hour ago when they put the academy kids on. The academy kids will play from February onwards when we've got no players again. That's what happened. Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, Paul Harris in the comments section saying, might have a better squad, but not an improvement on the starting 11. And it goes back to that comment just on paper. Fosun have said £20 million going to keep us up. He's paying £70 million to finish mid-table, worth the outgoing. It's frustrating, but I feel like that's where we are now. I feel like we have become another Stoke City where we're just happy to make up the numbers without really trying to push into that sort of top 8 European spots. I know you said off air, Gav, that you're usually pro Fosun.
Yeah.
But I ran out all the players that we've sold over the last 18 months, looked at the players that we've brought in. Going into that game on Sunday, where do you see that this team can actually finish? If this is the team that closes the window, where can this team finish in your eyes?
You know what? Prior to Neto going, I was optimistic. I'll be honest. Maybe 10th, 9th. And to be honest, that's a bit depressing. Because when we first come up and we were getting 7th under Nuno. That was not the expectation, but that was the dream, wasn't it? 7th place, 6th place, maybe trying to push into Champions League, and now we're talking about finishing top half. It's a bit shit, really. But in terms of where I think we'll finish this season, I can't see it being above 12th right now. And that's very pessimistic, but I just feel like the squad's gone, even though the depth's gone bigger, the quantity's gone bigger, but the quality's dropped ever so slightly overall. And with 20 million, I mean, what buys you 20 million these days? Can't get nothing for 20 million these days. And if you want to get a centre back and a winger, you're basically having, it's like a, look at the draw that you buy someone and they end up being good at like 10 million. So, nothing more than 12, really, I don't think.
Like
Keanu Hoover, 9 million.
Yeah, it's easy to spend a lot of money on shit players. It's very easy. And it's very hard to find someone good for cheap money, you know what I mean? We're hoping, Gomez looks like a good player. And we haven't had to, even though 15 million or 12 million is still fair amount of money, You know, I think they're banking on him replacing Neto now, which is a bit harsh on him, isn't it? Really, you know what I mean? He needs a year to, even though he's looked good, he needs a year to bed in. You can't expect him to come from, you know, he was at Estero last year. You know, that's a mid-table Portuguese side to come to us and, you know, and start, you know, getting double digits in goals and assists.
It's right. T in the comment section, no worthwhile centre back is going to join us as fifth choice, because if that's the sort of budget that we've got on a centre half, unless you're like Gav says, you landing lucky on a centre back, you've got to be paying 20, 30 million pound for a solid straight into your starting 11 centre half, haven't you? We were linked last week for Johan Wisser, who scored for Brentford yesterday. That was sort of a fee of 25 million pound in add-ons, wasn't it? There's your budget gone on one player if that's the case. Matt Bradley, Pedro Neto took 2 years to become Pedro Neto. I was like,
there you go. Yeah,
you got to give Rodrigo Gomez time to bed in. Go on, Stu.
When without going on nonsense about it, I mean, you are splitting 20 million by 5 years of the contract again and that stuff. So you can't. I mean, in theory, you could do it as say, oh yeah, we could still bring 4 players in at 20 million each. In theory, but we all know that they're not going to do that.
No.
But still, like what Gav just said, and all the comments here about Neto give Santi Bueno a run. This is what we signed Santi Bueno for significant. Yeah. Was that 8-9 million as well? And he never settled, and he's been a year now, and he ain't got a sniff in pre-season. So what are we kind of expecting? You got Sammy Smodic going for 9 million. That would have been a great signing. Why? Yeah. Didn't make any sense.
Yeah, 12 million euro. Santi Bueno cost us when he joined. There's loads of comments. I want to try and go through them all if I can. 123 North Street. Mike, I trust a rattlesnake more than Jeff Shee. There's no way Jeff Shee's freezing the season ticket prices next season. Guy lies every summer. Yeah. What's the other comment I just saw a minute ago? It was quite. Bear with me. They make the government look good and honest. Let's go back to the actual Daily Telegraph article at the moment. We were also linked to Sheffield United's Ahmedhodzic, but that's been denied by John Percy this evening. In the article, it did say Wolves' budget is at this moment £20 million with the likes of Daniel Podence, Gonzalo Guedes and Fabio Silva. If they are sold this summer, that will go on top of that budget. So, I mean, hopefully, minimum, you get sort of £10 million for those 3 players. That's 50 million, which still isn't a lot in the Premier League scheme of things. But Jeff Shee was happy to use benchmarking as a reason for rising season ticket prices. But where's the benchmarking to get your team towards those European places? You look at, again, this summer, the amount of money that Villa have spent, Chelsea have spent again. West Ham. Forest are, in the last hour, have been linked with signing Eddie Nketiah from Arsenal, which is, I think, over £25 million. Like Gav said, just you don't have to spend a massive amount of money on crap players. It's easily done, isn't it? I don't think Eddie Nketiah is like a world beater for that sort of transfer fee. I wouldn't want Wolves to be spending sort of £30 million plus on Eddie Nketiah. No. It was always going to be a difficult transfer window for Matt Hobbs and Gary O'Neill, but with £20 million to utilise in the rest of this window, it's an absolute mountain to climb for them too. And it's tough to keep the positivity because, like Stu said, I was quite happy with the performance on Saturday away to Arsenal. I thought we gave ourselves a good showing against a team that's going to be in the title race come May. Should we talk about that game, guys, or should we keep laying into Fosun?
I will say what someone said as well, that it makes you reassess. Well, makes certain people reassess that they turned Lopetegui into the villain of the piece last summer when they blatantly lied to his face about what was available, and now they've done the same to Gary O'Neill. Exactly the same. What they did to Nuno, and what they did to Bruno Lage as well. The common denominator there is Fosun and Jeff Shee. Not the individual managers. Yeah, Lopetegui was whatever. The stropping and the prima donna-ness, whatever. You can make your judgment on that. But him being lied to is now blatantly obvious true.
We've had Thomas Bucknell I believe, in the comments section, who says, if we're losing Sunday, Molyneux will be toxic. I mentioned at the start of the show, it is difficult, but we can't allow outside negativity to affect the players and Gary O'Neill. It's not on them. It's a tough show. We got Kieran Newey join us. How are you, Kieran?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, frustrated. Obviously, we had a decent away day on Saturday in the big smoke of London. Unfortunate to lose 2-0, but that news that John Percy revealed just over an hour ago. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, first sight of it, it doesn't seem great, does it? And I'll go back to what Stu just mentioned about the common denominator and the lies. It's hard to not think that's exactly what's going on here, and that it's just a continuation of that. I mean, 20 million out of all that. I mean, I don't know the numbers behind it. I've not done the research, and there's plenty of people on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it now that really look into that detail. So I'd be interested to kind of have a look at that in a little bit more detail. But yeah, it doesn't look great, does it, boys? And like it's just weird timing again from whether it's been leaked, whether it's John Percy doing a great job, and absolutely does a great job of journalism, but I'm just wondering whether this has come from the club in a way to try and get players' pricing down, or I honestly don't know what it is. But I'm not surprised by anything that comes out of the club right now, to be honest.
Is there any feeling with you for that, Gav, in regards to maybe this is a tactical ploy to try and drive down prices? Because, like you said, from outside the club, you're seeing £60 million for Neto, £40 million for Max Kilman. You do start to think that this club's got money to spend, but we've never looked at being that club average since sort of the first season we got promoted. We didn't even spend a massive amount. And then, really, in hindsight, we just spent very shrewdly with the likes of Adama, Rui, Matinho, but they weren't huge fees, were they?
No, I think, to be honest, I don't think there's anyone that like streetwise at the club to be making moves like that, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine Jeffrey thinking, we're going to put this out and then we're going to get Wissa for 15 million. No, I'll be honest, no other club is going to care about our situation. If we don't meet their demands for their players at the end of the day, we're not going to get anyone, are we? Realistically. So they can play all these games they want. We stood firm with Neto. What do you think everyone else is going to do? We're not going to hold our hands together and say and knock at the door, and beg for more money at the end of the day. It's a case of, if you don't meet the fee, if you don't meet the price, you're not going to get anyone. So, and, like with the Wissa situation, 25 million we got quoted last week. And now we're getting quoted that we've only got 20 million to spend.
Yeah.
So, the maths isn't mathing, basically.
Can't knock it. Imagine, put yourself in Matt Hobbs and Gary O'Neill's shoes right now, Stu, knowing that all summer long you've been, putting feelers out on players to join the clubs. You probably had positive talks with certain players, and then goalpost moved yet again on you. Where do you go when you're put in a sort of a tenable position like that with your owners?
I'd be asking my agent to get me out of here straight away.
Yeah.
Honestly, what if you put it into real world circumstances? If you had a boss who promised you the world, said, "Oh, you can have a new stapler next week," and then he comes back and gives you a paperclip, you're gonna fuck off, ain't you? It's just not gonna work. It's every year's the same. And I know that the sentiment that Kieran was saying there about is it a ploy, but is it a ploy has been mentioned for the last 8 transfer windows as well, and it never is a ploy. They're just liars. They're blatant liars.
I'll go along with Chris Rogers' comment, which he says, "I know it's shit, lads, but let's get to the end of the window and assess them. Majority of fans are behind Gary O'Neill on the team, so let's keep optimistic." That said, Jeff Shee is a lying bastard. Kieran, whilst we've got you on the show for the few minutes that you are available, looking again towards Sunday at home to Chelsea. Obviously, the old goal pack will be there with all their flags. The fan base will be going there with a bit of toxicity on the back of today's news. But do you still feel positive with the squad that we've got at Gary O'Neill's disposal to do a good job this season? We made the comment earlier that Fosun may have seen, £20 million will keep us up, £70 million will keep us up. Is there any reasoning that they shouldn't throw the boat at a war chest?
Yeah, I think to answer the first part of your question, definitely still positive. I think going down to Arsenal on Saturday, nobody expected us to get anything from that, but I don't think we gave a bad showing of ourselves. And I think, Gary and the lads there deserve the support. And they, like you mentioned earlier on today as well, we really can't let too much of this outside noise get to what the players are doing and what Gary's doing, because Gary's done a fantastic job. So like I don't want that to kind of get in the way of anything there. That being said, it's really hard to not agree with a lot of the comments about just Jeff lying constantly. And it doesn't surprise me with all of the communication that was coming out, not from the club, from him replying to those emails when the ticket pricing all came out. It just, nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me with what's coming out from that side of things. And again, to kind of go back to another point that was raised about, those potential conversations that Hobbsy and Gary would have been having with players, and trying to sell them the dream of living in sunny Wolverhampton. It's just made that conversation even harder now when they're going, well, if you can't actually pay the money for me, why am I going to come to you guys? So yeah, I'm trying to be my very, very best to be as positive as I can be on this gloomy Monday, but news like that coming out of the club doesn't sound great.
No,
but I guess the only, if I am going to try and put a positive spin on it, let's see where this week takes us. Let's see what happens, and go from there.
I'm not already preempting Pedro Neto scoring the winner on Sunday based on the back of this news tonight. But when Wolves, the inevitable usually happens, doesn't it? Daniel Williams in the comment section saying, end of the window will be, well, we tried, but we couldn't get deals over the line. I mean, we tried 27 pence, then 28 pence, and even 35 pence, but it still wasn't enough. That's going to be the line, and it's true. Come the end of the transfer window, clubs knew we had a lot of money. We tried to get deals over the line, but for X, Y, and Z, we weren't able to get the deals made. And hopefully, we can do business in January. But January is the worst time of the season to do business. They started really well, getting the players over the line: Strand Larson, Rodrigo Gomez, like someone said earlier. Good squad now, but we still haven't got that X factor in our starting lineup now. Pedro Neto's left, have we?
No. But saying that, I said what I said about Pedro Neto last season, that he can't be relied on anyway. And you look at I know it's not all about stats, but you look at his contribution over the last 2 years, and it's been very minimal. And you have to kind of plan for life without him. And the whole of pre-season, when we played so well and we looked so good, he wasn't involved anyway. So just because of this madness, which I expected anyway, I put it on Twitter that it's there, that screenshot. I had 20 quid for us to finish in the top half, and I still think we could do. I don't expect players to come in, but we've got to have a bit of luck at least 1 year where everyone doesn't fall apart like marshmallows. It's got to be 1 year. We're going to have people fit for an entire 9 months, and it's going to work. It worked under Nuno, so maybe this is our year. But this, like I said before, the whole thing's a joke. It happens every 6 months. We know it's going to happen. We know on the last day the whole thing's going to be trotted out. Oh, we tried and we tried, like like you guys said there. And then in January is a tough window to sign players. So we tried again and we couldn't do it. Even though the 1 year when we nearly went down, January was an easy window to bring people in because they spent money, which is the key there. It doesn't surprise me one bit. But for me, negativity-wise, I'm not negative whatsoever because I expected this anyway. But I think we've still got the squad good enough to be at least nowhere lower than 14th for me. Just looking at from what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I'm of the same sort of mindset. I don't feel this team will be in a relegation battle at any point this season, even though we're in the relegation zone at this moment in time. let me get away from that. Mike Evans says it just means our current centre backs will step up more. Santi will want to fight for his place. the comment just that I saw was, with that 20 million, would you spend it all on one player or spread it? In that Daily Telegraph article, Gav, it said that centre back was a priority along with a winger. Out of those two positions, what would be your priority? Still the centre half?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're just stacked in the forward areas, aren't we? Especially if you keep Guedes, Pedence. You just off the top of my head, Bellegarde can play out wide, Sarabia, Hwang, Pedence, Chiquinho, Guedes. So you've got the numbers there. I think centre back, you're looking light. I think Totti, I've still got question marks of him in a back two, left side of a back two. Bueno's not fancied at all. I'd love to see Dawson next to Mosquera, really, but Dawson doesn't look like he's going to stay fit. That's the problem. He's getting at that age now where you'll be lucky to get 15 games out of him this year, probably. So I would go for a centre back if it was me. But the thing is, you might need a left back now that Bueno's gone, and you got Nori. If Nori ends up, going out of form and he's dropping stinkers every week, which could happen, because as good as he's going forwards, defensively there's still a question mark on him. You might need a left back there, or who are you going to play? Doc at left back.
Well, you put Totti there, and then you got no one in the middle.
True. Actually, no. To be fair, Totti, I wouldn't actually mind Totti at left back, to be honest. So no, that's a fair point.
But either way, I'm sorry, no, I was just going to say, either way, yet again, they've sent out. We've loaned out two players again, and now we're being told that we can't bring anyone in again.
Yeah.
And you look at it's beyond strange. But I know it pains me to say it, but you look at Pedence and how much we're realistically going to get from him. I know they've said 8 today. You're not going to get 8 million for someone who's out of contract in the summer. So,
No.
So you say you take 6, you ain't going to get a player of his quality for 6 million quid. So you might as well keep him if he wants to stay here. Same as Guedes.
We
might
all
as
know
well.
our feelings on Daniel Powers, but the fact that he's only got 1 year left on his contract, he was happy to come on Saturday. I don't think his attitude or his efforts could be questioned when he had his.
He looked great.
Came over to the fans as well, so it's not like he's fallen out with the fans or anything to a certain degree. So he looked like he wants to stay. So, and he's a good option off the bench, especially.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if we sold him on deadline day now, just to piss us off even more. but you might as well keep him, and you might as well keep Guedes, because if they want to be here, and like I can't remember where I saw it earlier, that someone said about how Gary O'Neill had said himself that he came in and there was players all sad and they didn't want to be here, and he talked to them, and they just talked to him and gave them respect. And so, well, that's all you need. And if that's all it takes to get these people round, then we don't need any more attacking players. If them two stay as well, we've only got one striker of that kind in Strand Larson, but we're not going to get anyone else to play second fiddle to him anyway now, are we? And Fraser's gone, so you play Hwang there or Cunha there in an emergency, mix it up a bit more. So I think defence is an absolute priority now.
Yeah.
Is a centre half a priority for you, Kieran? Are you still there, Kieran?
I think he's on mute.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to find the mute button. I think I absolutely would agree. Centre half is definitely a priority. I was just the reason I was struggling to find the mute button was just I was having a look on Twitter to see if anybody's been having a look at what the pricing and how these figures might work out. And Craig Spillard has been tweeting. There's 3 tweets here, and I'll read them out for you. So we know from the 21-22 and 22-23 accounts that we made £110 million loss. If we say that 2 million is excluded from PSR calculations, then the 2-year loss was 106 million. That means to be inside PSR, we made a maximum loss in the 23-24 season of 3 million. So in 23-24, we made 81 million profit on player sales, meaning if we did nothing, our loss for the year would be 84 million. There was 46 million loss for 21-22 to drop off the calculation, leaving us 38 million outside PSR. We then sold Kilmer for £41 million profit, leaving us £3 million inside PSR. Signings of Gomez, Doyle, Lima, and the loan of Strand Larson will cost us about 7.4 million, putting us 4.4 million outside PSR. The netto sale then brings in £48 million of profit, leaving us 43.6 million inside the PSR calculations. So I'll leave you to amortise 43.6 million to see what we could spend on players, and it's not 20 million.
Yep.
Go on then, Stu, lay into Fosun again for me.
round two.
Craig's got it spot on every single time with this stuff.
Yeah, he has. He's very, very good at doing all of it.
Doing actual journalism, that full journalism's mainly could actually do it if they imagine being paid to piss about and go on holiday 4 times a year. But yeah, be serious. Craig knows his stuff and he's worked it out. And every time he's done this, he's been spot on. No reason to doubt him again. They're liars.
I didn't want this show to be negative. I was hoping we could try and play devil's advocate, but there's no positivity to offer here, and we tried.
It was only going one way. It was only going one way. As soon as that news came out, this show was going to be a shit show.
But the amount of, we started the window positively.
Yeah.
They started, refurbing the stadium with a bit of paint. They even put out half-decent ticket pricing for the League Cup game. And then all this little faith that they've built yet again is just completely thrown in our face. And, let's just have a look at our Twitter page a quick second. Because when we revealed the news via the Daily Telegraph earlier, quite a lot of people came in with their replies. So let me just get you that on screen for a second. Some of the replies were... Go on.
I was just going to say, there's a real, just to your point before you do go on to that, I also didn't want to be negative about all this. I was starting to feel quite positive about things again, and I really, really want to stay on that level. But I guess the only thing that I'm saying right now is to fans out there that are thinking, all right, we've just heard from John Percy that we've got 20 million to spend. Let's just wait, I guess. I know it's really difficult as Wolves fans. We're not the most patient, but is that just naive of me? We've seen this before, haven't we?
With this is definitely a rerun. This is like season 5 now of the Premier League. The Premier League line from Wolves. It's they sold us a dream of being in the Champions League, winning the league within 10 years. I made the comment to you earlier, didn't I, Stu, that the pandemic's ruined everything, but you said the pandemic was just an excuse.
Who made more money out of vaccines? Who manufactured vaccines in certain parts of the world?
Pfizer.
Fosun Pharmaceuticals.
Fosun Pharmaceuticals had the monopoly on Wolverhampton at one point, but yes, they did as well manufacture vaccines in Fosun Pharmaceutical Factory. So let's just say that. They lost off on other parts, but you only have to look at Fosun's financials and all that stuff. But the whole point, what I was saying earlier as well, their whole thing was self-sustainability, which is great, whatever. It's good for us. It's good for... We don't want to be sugar. We don't want to have a sugar daddy, do we? It'll be nice, but we don't need one. We're in the Premier League. If you can't spend what you bring in, that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piss take of it all. If you bring through players, tart them up a bit, make them better, sell them off for a profit, that's the point. You reinvest and you move on. Like Brighton do, like every other sensible club does.
Yeah.
Ones who've got owners who are evil, like Man United, they skim off the top. And Fosun are now skimming off the top as well as everything else. I think this is the tipping point. Like Gav said, I understand what Kieran's saying about being negative. I'm not being negative about the team. I love this team more than I have for years and years. But from an ownership point of view, they've now crossed that line of taking money out of Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club rather than themselves. And that is too far.
It is too far, Gav. On the back of the sort of season ticket price at the start of the season, I just mentioned about, they started doing things right, got the business done early. Yeah. That was on the back of the sort of on the back of the Max Kilman that they knew was already being sold. They refurbished the stadium. Gary O'Neill signs a new contract, half decent pricing for the League Cup game. They start going things the right way, and then they just completely slaps in the face. Let's just read some of the comments from our Twitter page earlier because we need to get some of them on the show. Nag commented, playing devil's advocate, if clubs think we have £90 million to spend, they will chuck a few extra on their asking price. If they believe we only have 20 million and we'll play hardball, then they won't be silly over asking price. Chad57 says, let's just see what he's up to. He's not daft. Perhaps his cards are very close to his chest. I need to be careful what I actually read out here in case there's something that's a bit too far for my liking. Wolfgar Ritchie said, we need a striker, fast, busy bee like Jota. Sammy Ahmedhodzic would have been perfect. Also, a goal scoring midfielder. Our entire midfield players put together since being in the Premier have scored barely 50 goals between them.
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes has scored more than that on his own. Steve Zodiac at Mr. Octopus says, taking the piss, Fosun. This is a sure sign that they are no longer interested in the club. Gary O'Neill has already said we can't stand still. If we don't get better players in, we will be looking at a relegation fight. Jack Griffiths, Dara O'Shea. Oh no, I hope that's not true. Fosun is turning into a nightmare. Sort it out. Steve Balls, I don't see a mad problem with this. If clubs think we have loads to spend and the price of players goes up, also saving money for January. At Francis Newbury, a lot of us have been on about them for a few years. No money in. Wolves never get £400 million. Something to do with trusting a rattlesnake and Jeff Shee. This is why Julian Lopetegui walked, wasting our season again. WWFC_Chris commented separate to our post. Nearly every club in the league is spending money and moving forward while Wolves stand still. Gary O'Neill deserves some proper backing after the job he did last season.
Yeah.
Our star players won't stick around forever if the club shows no ambition. The news that came out, I believe it was after the Arsenal game, or maybe yesterday, was that PSG were linked with a move for Matheus Cunha. If there was any truth in that and Fosun allowed that to happen this summer, I think riots probably would happen, Stu.
I mean, we are relegated if that happens because
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just because of Cunha, because we could lose Cunha for an injury through the season, but it's what that sends out to everyone. We were told we were told by Matt Hobbs that we only need to sell one player per season if we want to reinvest. We don't need to sell anyone if we don't have to. But if we want to reinvest, we sell one player a summer. We've done that. We've sold two. If you then sold your star man and your focal point and your player agent and everything else, and which it is what it is. He seems like he's perfectly happy, and it could be paper talk. It probably is paper talk. But if that kind of thing happened, then what's the point? You might as well just get relegated and start again and be happy again, because you look at that and you think, fine, we accepted Neto was going to go. He's been here for 5 years. It was his time.
Yeah.
We accepted Kilman money was ridiculous. You couldn't turn that down. Fine. But to make a profit on Cunha, you're talking 80, 90 million with a week of the window left, which we know full well that they won't let us spend anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah.
And like what we said earlier, in regards to if this is a tactical ploy, if we were to sell Matheus Cunha for this in this transfer window for, let's just say 70, 80, 90 million pounds, the clubs that we're trying to do business to bring in players, then we ain't going to want to pay that money that they hardball us with, are we?
No.
They'll have to, then.
Well, you say that, but like, if they know we've got £80 million to spend, and it's similar for me with Newcastle and Mark Gay. I don't think Mark Gay is worth £65 million, but if that's what Newcastle are willing to pay to get him out of Crystal Palace, that's what they'll have to pay out. And I don't think any club should be spending that on Mark Gay. I've got gold tinted glasses. I don't think there's a massive amount between Max Kilman and Mark Gay. You see the money that Kilman went to West Ham for. That's the sort of Mark Gay just played for England at the Euros. £15 million max on top of Max Kilman. So you look at 50, 55 million. What Gay should be going for, but I don't think he's anywhere near that. Kieran, where would your mindset be in regards to Wolves staying up this season if Cunha was sold this window?
Yeah, you don't want to know my thoughts on that. If they were to get rid of Cunha and he was to go, then yeah, I think riots would definitely be happening. Like I said earlier on, it feels like there was, prior to the news today, it feels like there was positivity returning, and I think that's the way that it should go towards Gary and the team, because they've done zero wrong in all of this. There's one person that the finger needs to be pointed at time and time again, and it has been pointed at him time and time again. And the thing is, he's not going to sack himself, is he? He's not like he's not going to get rid of his own job. I just think it's way past due for him now, and I think he's gone too far, and it's just lack of deliverance on these promises time and time and time again, and it's just, if anything, it's to the detriment of Wolverhampton Wanderers Football Club that he's in charge, and it has been for a while. So yeah.
Back in May on our Twitter page, I posted the picture of Jeff Moxey saying, "Are Fosun disinterested? Do we have a chairman focused on career aspirations over our club? Has Jeff Shee reached his ceiling as a chairman? Season ticket pricing could be the straw that broke the camel's back." I don't think anything's changed in those. Was it May for 3 months? I feel like Kieran's just alluded to there, he's not got this club's best interests at heart. I think he's got the ownership's best interests at heart, which is making as much money as they can without a lot of outgoings at this club. And in order for us to improve as a football club, you've got to spend money. Gary O'Neill said you can't stand still, and I feel like this is where we've gone now as a club, is that we're just on a tightrope.
But remember,
walking towards relegation until this club starts spending money again.
Yep.
Remember that interview though with Chairman Guo in Bloomberg, where he said they would give Wolves as much money as they wanted to, and the club don't want it. It's all on Jeff Shee, it's not on them. It was in the. I'll try and find it. I retweeted it at the time. It was years ago now. It was post COVID before you start. But he said on there, and it was an interview. It was a financial thing as well, and he was saying like, how does the business work and everything, and do you give them money? And no, we ask if they want money, and they always say no because they're running themselves as their own business. It's all on him, and I can't believe he had the audacity. I mean, he was coming in my ears, and not like Charlie FM, on Wolves Weekly the other day, talking up how great everything is, and he's got the audacity to do that when they yet again know full well that this is on the horizon. It's almost like he likes it. Like he likes pissing people off.
I think, do you know what? Actually, I think that there is something in that. I don't know whether there's something like
he's mentally wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it just feels like. I mean, like with some of the, like again, going back to some of those replies when the season ticket pricing was all kicking off. It's like, are you trying to wind people up here? Like, because you're doing a great job of it. And I mean, first of all, the fact that he's even replying must have like driven the media team absolutely bonkers.
Nah, that surely couldn't have been him.
No, look, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
I hope not.
I'm of the mindset that he was the one who was replying to those emails, because he's a one-man band within the club. I think people have tried to guide him. I feel like Jorge Mendes, Nuno, Kevin Farewell, at the time, they were leading him in a right way in those first couple of promotion seasons.
So that was him replying to those emails.
Yeah, I mean that's from what I've been told, that it was 100% him. But I think just if we are going to go back a long time now, and you know, we never really 100% found out why Laurie Dalrymple left the club. No. You know, but
it wasn't just that, Kieran. It was the fact that the article, when he was sort of announced that he'd left the club, there was no paragraph of best wishes, thanks for your service. It was this guy's leaving, ta-ra. There was no positive ending to that, like you usually get with people who leave the club. Even, you know, Razak Bakari got a thanks for your service.
And remember that Laurie did a piece to camera as well. It probably still is on Wolves YouTube unless they took it down, where Laurie admitted that he had to talk them down into moving to a new stadium because they didn't understand. And it was him who was saying, we need to stay at Molineux. That interview was on, Wolves posted that on their own YouTube channel.
I remember that, yeah, actually, yeah.
He was there criticising the owners for being clueless. And then 6 months later, he's sacked. Well, ended his contract, as we have to say.
Kieran, I want to ask you this question from Danny P in the comment section. Would you take the lottery of new owners to get rid of Jeff Shea?
Good question, isn't it? Because I don't know for a fact that it is all just Jeff and that it's not Fosun, holding something back. Or, I agree with what Stu said that, there's probably 98% of me that thinks that this is just Jeff that's doing all of this. And so, I don't think it's a new owners thing. Maybe it's just a new chairman or just a new Jeff. I guess that's the concern. And I know that there was talk a while back about someone else coming in and then that fell to one side. But I don't see how that happens. I don't see how we get a new chairman without new owners, because I guess, if they sit down, I don't know, once a quarter and have a business review with Jeff and, how's it going? Let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the league position. Let's look at your incomes and outgoings. Let's look at your sponsorship, all your commercial stuff. Yeah, looks pretty good to me. Looks like you're doing a great job. Well done, Jeff.
Just like Jez Moxie used to do back in the day, Kieran.
Yeah.
Just like Moxie used to do back in the day. It got the numbers to work, but it was never at the benefit of the club.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, and I go back to it again, it's the one thing that I will continue to say. Jeff Shea is putting the club at a level of detriment, and it's just everything against what Wolverhampton Wanderers wants to be. It's really difficult. Obviously there's been a lot of potentially really, really good things that have happened, but I'd argue that that's not actually anything to do with Jeff directly, and that it's actually other people at the club that have done well. We're yet to know what Stu do and is going to bring in, where that money is going to be going. Is the extra money that they're going to be making on these kits going to be coming to us? Who knows?
Doubt it.
I see Stu shaking his head, but
Absolutely no chance.
these are all unknowns at the moment. But if we look at his tenure and what's happened and the lack of investment every 6 months, where we're kind of told that we're going to be getting this, and I just feel bad for. I felt bad for every single manager that's come in, to be completely honest. Some more than others, but I feel bad for Gary right now, because I can only think back to that interview. Was it last week when he was saying, and everyone was saying, "Oh, this is a message to the owners about standing still." He clearly knew that this was the case. That 20 million was all he was going to get for Neto. And I saw a tweet earlier on saying that when Matt Hobbs said that there were tears at the training ground, it was probably just Gary O'Neill knowing that he wasn't going to be getting more than 20 million to spend on him.
What's your answer to that Danny P question, Gav? Lottery of new owners to get rid of Jeff Shea?
Yeah, it's one of those. I know Stu was on about how the chairman said that the funds are there, but we've always heard about this external investor that they're trying to get on board. So I kind of have to question the whole, are Fosun really prepared to put money in? Because I don't think they'll be looking for external income or an extra investor in that regard. You know what I mean? If they were willing to put all the money in, they would have just done it. They wouldn't have looked for another investor, really, in my opinion. So
they're not a pop-up shop, are they? They've got money. If they want to spend, they can
spend.
But
it's like you only look for investors if you're cash strapped, I think. So or you're not prepared to put the money in yourself. So in either case, that there were, there's always been linked with Saudi, Qatari people coming in, buying a stake in the club or whatever. So they are looking for the investment. So for me, I think even though Jeff Shee's, you got to question him, I think you do have to question Fosun, in my opinion. It's like the stadium thing does my head in the most. One of the, how can you come in and say, I remember Jeff said, I asked for a stadium bigger than Real Madrid's. He come out and said that, didn't he? He goes, I asked if we can get one bigger than Real Madrid's, but we can't do it because of the uni or something daft like that, he said. So how can you go from coming out with something like that to not even... That Steve Ball stand that needs blowing up, that needs C4s planted in all the toilets, and blowing up internally. It's a shithole. It is.
It'll
It's a shithole.
survive.
Have a controlled explosion with no people in the vicinity. We stipulate that on the channel tonight. C4 explosion with no one within the vicinity.
But yeah, it's frustrating. You know what I mean? The stadium thing, it needs doing. You know, I know I'm not asking for a 50,000 seater stadium at the end of the day, but how can you go from having this big plan? They had all the drawings, they had all the graphics, to not, and every time they brought it up, they said, okay, COVID understood, you know, the loans, you know, the rates and everything were too high. I got that at the time. But when you're seeing League One teams rebuilding their stadiums, you know, there's no material crisis now, is there really? If League One teams can build their stadium, so you know, that hasn't even been mentioned. They're like, oh, it's on.
They've got him. They've shut him down.
That's it. Fosun have got all the gav. They've put a block on his router. Mike Allen commented saying, Fosun happy just to stay up. Why would they spend money if in trouble? Come January, they may panic buy again. This is where we don't want to be as a club, isn't it? Going back to similar how we were under Lopetegui last January, is having to spend big money just to stay up. You want them to spend 75% of good money trying to get to that next ladder peg, don't you?
Yeah. But they won't. Then they've shown that they won't.
So how can they justify keep rising season ticket prices, raising match day ticket pricing, which is I'm not sure if they've actually. I don't think they've actually still sold out Chelsea this Sunday because most expensive match day ticket against Chelsea this Sunday is £71 in the Upper Billy Right.
Yeah.
It's farcical.
They know it. They'll do it until people stop buying, but people are addicted, so they're not going to stop. I think this season might be the way that it turns around with things like this, because when you do get to Ipswich and games like that, where especially if we've got no strikers again, or we're playing 15-year-olds and whatever, it's just people are just not going to bother, are they? Because we saw that starting to happen at the end of last season as well, where the top corners of the Billy Right were starting to be empty. And I put that picture on a few months ago of the Steve Bull with the BMW things on J1 and J10 when we couldn't sell the tickets. As long as you if you fleece people over and over again, like Gav said at the start, everyone's got a tipping point. And I know it's happened to loads of people. It happened to Bradders. It happened to Russ. They said, enough's enough. You can fuck off. And Bradders has gone to Hensford now. And you look at the amount of the people, the amount of decent people, well, in Russ's case, decent Wolves fans that have supported the club all their lives, 30, 40, 50 years, that we don't need you anymore. But they don't know. And because as long as people still buy the tickets, which they can't help because they're all addicted to it all, it's not going to stop. And I think season tickets is a given because that's always going to happen. But match tickets is going to be the one where people just turn around and say, nah, Sodja, you're not having it anymore. And that's the only way it'll turn around. But this is why they won't invest where we're on top, because they never have. They didn't do it when we were pushing for the Champions League under Nuno. Didn't then. Didn't do it under Bruno Lage. Didn't do it under Lopetegui in the summer when he wanted it. And they're not going to do it now or in January. And then we'll get to the stage next summer where Gary O'Neill's poached and the whole situation starts again. And at the same time, they're painting the stadium now. But remember, we couldn't even put some Meccano up and get 500 extra seats in between the Steve Bull and the South Bank, which they promised us, and a new screen, which they said we could have a new screen. No new screen for us. Everyone else could. Warsaw could have one. We can't have one. It's just a complete piss take from top to bottom. And I don't know how he gets away with it.
Kieran, before we go for our podcast advert, when is enough is enough?
Are we not there already? I
am.
No, Kieran, because like yourself and like myself, I'm addicted to this football club, and until it becomes literally financially untenable to keep going, they've got me round the throat like Jose Mosquera on Kai Havertz.
You know what though, and that's the point. And it's the we all had these conversations when the season ticket pricing came out. They've literally got us like wrapped around their finger. They know that it's mental health for a lot of people. They know that it's really tough for but sometimes it's the only chance for people to see people and have conversation in the week, with absolute strangers. But they know that, and they play on that. That's the business of football. That's not just our club. That's absolutely every single club throughout the country. And if things were going well, would we be having this conversation? And
But you don't need to be spending huge amounts for things to go well, do you? And I feel this is going back to Jeff Shea yet again. When he's made big decisions at this club, Fabio Silva, Wolves were not a club at that period in time that was established enough in the Premier League to be spending £35 million on a project.
No.
I just think that he's been advised badly. If it's Jeff, he's been advised badly along the way, and there are certain agents and probably certain players that have made the most of that opportunity. There are others that we've absolutely benefited massively from as well. So I guess you've got to kind of take the good with the bad there, really. But I guess we're going to have a potentially tough start to the season. With the game on Sunday will be a challenge. Be interesting to see how we come out of it. I think by the middle of September we'll have a real good idea about how we're potentially going to be doing and where we're going to be going. I don't want to see a hostile Molineux. I don't want to see things kind of turning against the players and the management, like I said, because it's not their fault. If there's anybody to blame here, it's the one person at the top. And if it does go that way, I'd like to think that it's directed in the right way.
Yeah. They say it's, the fish rots from the head, or in this case, the wolf rots from the Jeff. Quick advert break on the Sports Social Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us on the Wolves Fancast tonight. Myself and Kieran Newey. We have to talk about Saturday's game away to Arsenal. It was always going to be a tough fixture going away to the team that finished second in the league last season. We gave it a good account. The lineup when it came out at 1:45, Stu, and the likes of Rodrigo Gomez was starting for the first time. Gary O'Neill had settled for a back four. What was your sort of thoughts at 1:45 away at the Emirates? Did you feel we could get something in the day?
Well, no, but that's not on us. That's on the fact that Arsenal are a title contender and then nearly won the league last year and the year before and the year before. But no, I think I was more impressed the fact that he had the bollocks to go with a back four.
Yeah,
especially against a team like that where you think, well, we've had them in pre-season. They're still getting used to each other, but in a competitive game, it's a different story altogether. And then you look at the absolute chaos and lack of composure we've had when we've tried back fours in the past. And then you throw in, we've got Doherty at right back with no pace. You got Aït-Nouri, who's not defensively solid anyway. And it looks like a disaster on paper, but he had the faith in it. And I think for the most part, it worked. But it was strange going into a season, especially into an opening game of the season like that, where you think there's no pressure on us anyway, because everyone expects us to get mauled. And yet we didn't play very well in the first half, but we gave a real good account of ourselves. And that period in the I know we'll get into it, but that period in the second half was really impressive. We just couldn't capitalise. But yeah, looking at I can't get used to the 1:45 though. It's like you train for an hour beforehand, and then it pops up on your phone, and you think, oh, is there a bomb threat or something, or something's gone wrong at the stadium? Why they're pinging me now? But then that comes out, and you think, oh, okay, we've got extra time to take it in. But yeah, I was impressed by the guts.
Is that the most stereotypical Wolves fan thing to do? That you're getting a ping and you're instantly thinking bomb threat instead of a lineup announcement? We'll just think the worst case scenario.
Were you at the sandwich game? I wasn't at the sandwich game, but I was listening to the sandwich game in that under 21s in the 90s. It's always on my mind, and it's London, so who the fuck knows? But no, I knew that. Well, we already knew, didn't we, that Gomez was playing anyway from the start because he'd already said that. And I was interested to see Strand Larsen in person because obviously I watched the friendlies at home, but I was excited and yet trepidatious, but at the same kind of just inquisitive more than anything else. It wasn't like, oh, if we get smashed 7 or 8, it doesn't really matter. So I didn't think it was going to happen like that. I just thought, well, is it actually going to be a back four? That was my main concern. Is it going to be this hybrid thing with Lamina dropping back in? And it kind of was, but that was my thoughts going into it anyway.
So around the 25th minute mark, Bukayo Saka on the right, Gav, seems to have absolute acres to find the perfect ball. I was really disappointed with the manner of that first goal. Was for me, Kai Havertz isn't your stereotypical target man striker to be scoring with a header, let alone the manner of which it was. Giles, I saw wrong. It was in most error for you in that first goal. For me, it's saw coming that far, we're not claiming.
I think there is that as well. But for me, Lamina is just, I watched it in real time. Rodrigo Gomez is calling, he's pointing, he's shouting, he's saying, "Oh, cover ya, go and press Saka," and he gives him about 4 or 5 touches on the ball. And you can't give a player like Saka that much time, can you? Really, he's gonna pick someone out, or he's gonna do something. So they gave him all the time in the world. He picked someone out. It's a good ball in. I think so. He had every right to go for the ball because I think it was there to be won at the end of the day. But if you're gonna go, you've got to make it at the end. He was a couple seconds off. So just a bit of bad judgment on his side. So for me, you're probably looking at Lamina for not closing down Saka, and then Saar for not getting to the ball, winning the ball.
Did you feel that sort of opening 25 minutes went, Kieran, until we actually conceded the goal?
I don't think we gave that bad a showing of ourselves. I thought, with going back to one of the comments as well about the starting with the back four, I thought it was brave. And again, I don't think that we were that bad. I guess my only worry was, did Arsenal really, kind of push on too much? Did they really get out of second gear? Did they really kind of go for our throat? And if they did, would it have been a different thing? I thought it was an interesting game. I thought, second half we were much better, and if that Seaman-esque save from Raya, had it gone in, then would it have changed the game? But again, like it's a difficult one to know, and I've got to give plaudits to Gary O'Neill for what he's doing, and the tactics that he's trying to implement. And look, this is his first, obviously, real pre-season. I'm not sure if it's his first ever pre-season in management, but it's I don't think he's doing a bad job. But yeah, first 25 minutes, I'd say it was cagey, but it wasn't bad.
That was a big moment just after Saka had set up Kai Havertz to the chance that Juan created for Strand Larsen with the header, just 12 yards out, right to the penalty spot. Good save down to his right from Raya, but could be a different story if that goes in. That would give us a bit of momentum going into the half-time break.
And it's a world-class save. It's an absolute world-class save. I mean, he's done everything right there. And I know that Joe Hart said it on Match Today, didn't he, as well, and talking about how his reaction to that. Not many keepers pull that out from there. And well, it showed how good it was, because half the away end just jumped up as if it had gone in. So it was like it was destined to go in, and he's pulled that out. But I think it would have been a fair scoreline at that point to go in 1 each. And I think, well, like Kieran said there, that Arsenal might not have been firing all cylinders because they didn't really have to be, because we hadn't settled yet. But at 1-1, it's a completely different story.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we would have managed to get that goal before the half-time break, shooting towards the away fans in the second half, would have given us a bit of momentum. I don't feel like Arsenal ever throughout the game were really dominating us. And then you've already mentioned the period that we had in the second half before they went 2-0. I think Matheus Cunha had a chance to make it 1-1. For me, if he doesn't score with his left foot at Emirates last season, he isn't shoot with his left foot on Saturday, because for me, he had acres to take it onto his right foot before getting a shot away, Gav.
Yeah, it's they gave us that chance on a plate, didn't they, really? And I think at this level, you just got to take, you ain't going to get many chances against Arsenal, are you, at the end of the day? So when they come to you on a plate, you just got to take them. So that one was a bit disappointing. But yeah, as the guys have said, second half, we had them on the back foot, didn't we? We had them, they were on the ropes, as they say, they were on the ropes. We had them on the back foot. I think Nori had a good chance. He did a little 1-2 on the edge of the box with Gomez, I think it was. So we were pushing. It was just a shame that we just couldn't take advantage of scoring in that period. Really, I think the second goal. I know you'll come on to it, but there's a bit of a sucker punch in the end, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, look at the shot glossary there. In the space of like 6 minutes, Wolves had 3 shots at Arsenal's goal. Gavin's just mentioned 8 Nori's effort from distance. That was, he rifled it, to be fair. I think if it was on target, I think Ray's getting there. Rodrigo Gomez had a shot a few moments later, and then that big chance from Mateus Cunha. But that second goal did really sucker us, didn't it? I mentioned it to a few people after the game. For me, Bukayo Saka now is in Iron Robin territory.
Yeah.
You do not let him get onto his left foot. He's that clinical, isn't he, Kieran?
Yeah, absolutely, and he's class as well. Like, just everything about him just oozes class for me. And like, it's a difficult one. Like, if he's, like you said, if he's getting onto his left there, then that's it, and that he's going to do well. But I think it was a bit of a sucker punch at the time. The one thing that I just wanted to mention, though, from the first half, and again, has been a frustration of mine with this particular player for a while. Sar's distribution still just does not get any better. Like, his kicking is like terrible. And I know the thing is, I can't win in this situation, because there were a couple of occasions where Sar was playing it from the back, and there was that. I think was it in the first half, where it like passed it out to Nori, then Nori like switched it inside, and it was like they must have had 3 players pressing them at the same time. But if you give it to Sar to on a long ball, if he's kicking it, it's going out. But yeah, like it was definite sucker punch from Saka. But like I said, there's part of me that really wonders whether any of the Arsenal team really got out of second gear.
I was on the Football's 12th Man podcast after the game outside the Tony Adams statue, and one of the comments that came about on their channel was it was the first time since he's joined Arsenal that Declan Rice has gone down with cramp, which, like you just said, it does allude to the fact that they may not have gone out of second gear on us, because they were sort of still coming out of the back of the Euros hangover and still not being in a full rhythm. But that was my hope going into the game on Saturday, is that we could try and catch them cold. And I felt like for a good percentage of that match, we did give them a good go.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to jump in again, and then Kieran, sorry. Let's talk about Yusuf Mosquera for a few moments. We've all been crying out for a shithouse for a good 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
He's going to get himself into trouble if he carries on doing things like this. I think he can probably modestly get away with the choke slam and ground choke, but you just can't go around putting your finger in someone's trumpet hole.
Bring back
Mosquera being a shithouse.
I didn't see it until afterwards when the videos were being shared. That's what when I got back on the couch, and I had no idea, because it was in the far corner from us, wasn't it? So he talks so gently and everything when Gemma was over and he was on loan last season, and you think, oh, he's settled down, but the South American chaos is there, and I thought he was superb, and yet, but would he be as superb if he hasn't got this kind of early Pepe Sergio Ramos about him, where he's going to get booked and he's going to get sent off. You've just got to accept it that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because he has got the air of crazy about him. But you can't tame that. You just have to accept it.
It's been a while, hasn't it, since we've had, someone of that kind of ilk, really, that will actually go. I mean, obviously you could argue that Costa, when we had him, was winding people up, but he was definitely nowhere near as bad as he used to be. But I mean, I didn't see until I saw the images, and actually, I don't think that image that you just put up, Dan, actually does him any favors, because it does 100% look like he's giving him a good pop word Saturday night. But but like, if you actually watch it back, he's clearly trying to get him out of the way. The hand placement is completely wrong. But if he's going to be the type of player that is going to be okay with getting stuck in and and giving a bit of that back, then why not? I'm not saying go around fingering strikers, but yeah, I don't think it's necessarily always a bad thing.
I mean, surely sooner or later it's got to end up on the fantasy football bonus points criteria if you're going to get away with stuff like that. Let's get sensible for a quick moment, because we need to give props where props are due. I thought Mosquera and Matt Doherty were pretty solid on Saturday, Gav.
Yeah. I think I was more surprised with I think Mosquera. I haven't seen a lot of him, but from what I have seen, I did expect him to be okay. To be fair, but I was more surprised with Doc really. Up against Martinelli, I thought he was going to get cooked. I'll be honest. I thought he was going to have him on ropes, but he did okay. He did okay in the end. I mean, as soon as Semedo's fit, I would be starting Semedo personally, but no, he was fine. He was fine, and I think the good thing with Doc is going forwards. I mean, in second half, he did a bit more coming in at the back post. He's just a threat, isn't he? All the time, as bad. As questionable as you have, defensively, getting forwards, he's just a threat, isn't he?
Yeah, and we don't have that threat when Semedo plays, because he doesn't get forward at all.
No. But at the same time, he's like, he knows how to work the ball well in the final third, doesn't he? He knows how to run into the space. Semedo, the only time you ever see him getting forward is if he's carrying the ball. He doesn't actually go into any space himself. But now Doc was fine. I thought everyone had a good game. The only one I was really disappointed with was probably Lamina, to be honest. I don't know if anyone saw for the second goal. I think he's fouled Odegaard on the floor. They played a quick free kick. And instead of going and chasing the ball, he's helping Odegaard get up off the floor. And they've ended up scoring from that as well. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to get on with the game a little bit. So Lamina was a little bit disappointed with it, if anyone.
Should we blame Sudio's boots for that?
yeah.
And it was Totti for me. I thought everything what Ishan said the other day, and we kind of lambasted, and he's going to attack us one day. That he was kind of justifying, and what Gav said as well. Totti in the back four, he looked very dodgy in that first half. Second half, he kind of grew into the game a bit better. But I'm yet to be convinced that that's going to work long term.
Is this his ball control?
Yeah. And he's because he moves so weird, and he looks so awkward anyway. You kind of you get nervous when he starts trying to do something, even though he's given us no real reason to think that, because in the back three he's been fine. Maybe it's just an aesthetic thing, and it's just a mental block that we have to get over. But he didn't look settled in that first half. Maybe it's first game nerves as well. Who knows? But I think that's why when we were talking earlier about what's your priority, I think the centre half is for me, because weirdly I would prefer him as a left back, but where that leaves out Nuri, who knows?
Yeah, I felt Totti had a bit of a fall, didn't he, early into the game? I felt like I said, he became a bit jittery and a bit nervous. And Dean's commented saying whether it's Arsenal's standard tactic, but they use Totti getting the ball as a trigger for the press, and I felt like that was clear that they were attacking down that side for Ait-Nouri defensively. Didn't have one of his better games on Saturday, Kieran. What was your thoughts on Ait-Nouri Saturday?
Yeah, again, I don't think that he was one of the stronger performances. But again, like, I'm wondering whether it's, just, early season, kind of getting back into the flow of the Premier League, and obviously Arsenal away is never going to be the easiest start. But yeah, no, I don't think he was terrible by any regard.
Have you got enough confidence in Ait-Nouri as a left back in a four, Kieran?
Good question. Yeah, I would. I'd say that I would. Yeah, I'd like to give him the chance there anyway.
I think over a 38-game season, there's no reason not to have faith in him in a back four.
Yeah.
But I feel like games where you're playing against the likes of Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, you might have to go to a back five in them games.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think he just needs that extra cover there for teams like that. I think it'd be interesting to see on Sunday how he lines up and how he sets up against Chelsea. But saying that they've got 100 players to choose from, so I guess it's you don't really know until the day. But I think the really good thing about Gary is that he's shown to have that tactical nous and be able to change things up mid game.
It's like
and
what
I
you
think
said
that,
there, though, Kieran. He's so meticulous as a coach, but how can you be meticulous against a team that's got 100 players to
Yeah,
play?
exactly.
And will Pedro Neto start on Sunday? He didn't start yesterday, but when he came on, he had a decent outing. They've still got good players. I think Cole Palmer didn't have a good game yesterday, but he's still top quality. It's similar to Bukayo Saka. You don't let him get onto his left foot on Sunday. But I think we can all agree, forget the negativity that came out earlier on this evening. We saw enough on Saturday away to Arsenal that we should be going to Molineux on Sunday, hoping we can get 3 points at home to Chelsea. Thanks for joining us, Stu, Kieran, myself and Gavin tonight at Wolves Fancast. A few bit pieces of housekeeping before we end the show tonight. Recently, we've collaborated with the quiz channel fcquiz.app. There's a Wolves Fancast quiz that comes out every Friday. You can find that link on our social media pages. There's 8 questions. It's free to play. All you need to do is register with an email. That website is fcquiz.app. Also, last week, we launched our new Wolves Fancast merchandise store. You can actually see one of the shirts that I'm wearing now. Got our South Bank S3 edition there. There's plenty of other shirts on there. Mateus Cunha, Wang, Lamina, João Gomez. There's loads of stuff on there. We've benchmarked it against other Wolves social media channels, and we are far by the cheapest out there after their discounts are offered. So head to wolvesfancast.tmill.com. We'll be back on Sunday. Actually, no, we'll be back on Friday to preview Sunday's game at home to Chelsea. Again, thanks for joining the show. Me, Stu, Gav, and Kieran. Wish you the best of your week. Up the Wolves.